If I had a bugle, I would blow Reveille if I knew how to play the bugle. Because this is the awakening. This is the time of action, finally. I have said patience, 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 patience for these many months and years. I have said have courage, have faith. The death is long and painful and arduous, but the birth is right around the corner. The new beginning, the triune being that you are becoming. That time is now. Well, I've told you that before, but now is the time when the vessel that you have emptied begins to refill with new energy, the new sense of self. You are still in process. And everyone moves at a slightly different pace. Everyone has somewhat different issues and memories and ghosts to deal with. But there is a timing in the affairs of humankind that is universal. And I speak to that timing. That this now is the time when you begin your journey of self-discovery. You have gone through the process of initial awakening, of releasing voluntarily your fears, not knowing how to do it, or what it's going to mean, or what it's going to lead to. You've gone through that. You've gone through the process of self-forgiveness, the forgiveness of others. You have released yourselves from the hold of ego, so that ego, along with all other aspects of self, can be filled with the Spirit and thus transformed. The job is not complete. You will continue to grow in your awareness, in your love, in your power for as long as you live. But a point has been passed now. You have escaped, in a sense, the gravity of Earth and are now moving out on your adventure that is an inward adventure as well as an outward adventure. It is the discovery of your own identity. Having allowed the fears of the past many lives, to be processed, to be seen, to be accepted, to be forgiven, to be released. You have opened up vast new territory within yourself that you could not or would not see before. When you are hiding from aspects of yourself, you are hiding also from the whole, because you cannot recognize the whole without the details. In those areas where fear has blocked you, great detours needed to be taken to avoid the triggering of those fears. Now you are fearless. You won't always feel fearless, but you are in every essential way. You have gone through the valley of the shadow that is fear, and you've come out the other side. You have stood empty and waiting, and now the starter signal appears. Start what? Go where? Become who? These are the questions that you are going to be answering for yourselves as the time moves forward. How do you do this? You don't use the old methods. They will be the first ones that you will try, and I say to you, as you will find out, or have found out for yourself, they don't work. sitting and thinking about it, trying to analyze, doesn't work. Worrying about it doesn't work. Anticipating what might come doesn't work. Listening to friends and family doesn't work. And moving along the same old track does not work. If you have been stuck in some aspect of your life or work, that will become so glaringly obvious to you now that you will not be able to tolerate it. Literally, you will be unable, should you desire, to stay in the same place, doing the same things in the same ways. It would quickly drive you to distraction to try. Now, it doesn't mean that tomorrow morning you must all quit your jobs and sell your homes and move to another city. What it means is that you open yourselves up to possibility, that there are very few givens left to match the number of oughts left. What you ought to do is what you will do without oughting. You are free now. Now, when someone has been in captivity for a long time, in a 6x3 cell, and the cell is removed, first, you say, can I really move beyond this 3-foot limit, beyond this 6-foot limit? Well, I can, but that's sort of scary. I don't even remember ever being out here before. So I better scuttle back. And then venture out a little further and look around. Well, everything looks different now that I have a new perspective. And gradually you move farther and farther from your place of captivity. And of course, the captivity is always from the self. You create your captivity. And to discover your freedom, again, is a process. If you were to discover all your freedom and all your power all at once, you'd probably explode. That's too much energy and too quick a change. My work with you now, today and in all of the todays that come in this period, is to help you to discover who you are now. What are your personal possibilities? What can you do that you couldn't do before? You are so much different that at first it's disconcerting and frightening. When you reach out around you, figuratively speaking, and do not find walls, the implications can be terrifying. Because there is nothing to define yourself against. The possibilities become endless and infinite. Remember this. When you opened yourself to Christ energy, to the transformative key that unlocked the barriers that separated mind from body from spirit, you began a process that is an ongoing process, but a tide of change that has engulfed and filled you. As spirit becomes fully integrated with body and mind, so that there are no barriers, so that spirit brings its eternal life, its ageless understanding, its perfect awareness to the earthbound elements of self, that is indeed a revolution of an evolution. It is a new state of being for the human race. And its implications are enormous. Henceforth, all that you do and all that you are is energized by your own eternal being, your own spirit, which is indistinguishable and inseparable from the Spirit of God. You have powers that you did not have before. I've spoken of this at length in the past, and I'll only touch upon it now. The psychic spiritual talents that are being released by this marriage of yourselves will have an effect in every area of your life. Incredibly enhanced sensitivity and awareness. Now, at the beginning of this process, where you are now, it is important to recognize that in your expansion, in the early times of your expansion, you're going to encounter obstacles to that expansion because it's new. As I said earlier, you're going to find old ruts intolerable. And that dictates change. And even in your enhanced state, change is difficult. Certain changes more difficult than others, but necessary. And you don't have to worry about it because, as I said, you won't tolerate that which is not appropriate to you in any area of your life. And it doesn't mean you become intolerant. It doesn't mean that if someone is not perfect, according to your definitions, you can't have them in your life. It doesn't mean that every work choice that you make must satisfy you in every way. You are still a human being living a human life. There are still balances to be found, to be sought. It doesn't mean if your mate is not entirely in accord with your own new being that you better dump him or her. Not at all. Because you are becoming more godlike. And in becoming more godlike, your perspective changes. Your understanding, your empathy grows enormously. You recognize imbalance when you see it with greater sharpness and clarity than ever. But you forgive it also in your recognition that all are embarked upon the same journey. And if you have already passed through a certain town on that journey, and someone else is just entering its limits, you do not put yourself above that person. You are not intolerant of the person's position in that moment of his or her journey. You're becoming more like God. In human form. I said years ago, the goal of this is to become Christ. Become absolutely one with Christ. Well, who was Christ? But God and human being combined. Which is what you have always been, in essence. Now you will realize it. Now, Christ was the flowering of that combination. You are still, and will be for some time, feeling out the territory, working on the issues of balance of the human and the God within you, integrating over time as your understanding expands and your knowledge of your own power increases. But you are Christ now, the child of God, one with God, yet one also with the earth. One with the temporary, one with the permanent, one with the wider reality, one with the material reality. where before you were blinded from so much of your being, now you see it all, but you cannot take it in. You cannot take that whole vision in. And so bit by bit you become accustomed to that new vision of yourself and of your place in the world and in the universe. You need to exercise your new talents, your new abilities. You don't know entirely what they are. And so to accomplish this exercise, you become very receptive. This is an extension of the process of faith that has been yours. You have proved in your own lives that faith is real. You have strengthened it through your actions. Now you will continue that process by having perfect faith in yourself and in your choices. Faith that you will choose only what is right. Faith that you will smell out danger, that you will be aware of distraction, that you will become and are in fact sensitive to deception. You can't be fooled. You can't go wrong as long as you are true to yourself. But I don't know who I am. How can I be true to myself? Be open and be receptive to the opportunities that come to you. You are not alone. In becoming whole, in joining with Spirit, you become perfectly meshed with the timing of Earth and the wider reality. Therefore, opportunity will come to you without your needing to search it out, by your simply being there in the moment, opening yourself to opportunity. If you are not consciously open and potentially receptive, then opportunity can still pass you by. But there is no longer any need for that. If you trust yourself, it's a bigger job at the beginning. You say, can I really trust myself? Am I really able to make decisions without having to second guess myself? To doubt my choice at the first little thing that doesn't go as I expected? To learn this whole new way of being is going to take some time. To live without expectations, and yet with perfect faith that opportunity will appear when the timing is right, and that you will make the right choice, takes practice. It really takes practice. Like creating any new habit to displace the fading memories of the old. Because you now love yourselves, you will be patient with yourselves when you fall back into old ways momentarily. And it really will be only momentarily, because there is nothing for those old ways to hook onto now. They're but fading memories, ghosts of the past. There are very concrete ways in which you can consciously enhance your developing relationship with the Spirit that fills you. To use those psychic, spiritual abilities that are now yours and were always your birthright. Again, practice. You want a parking space when you're going to go somewhere? Before you go, give it a moment of thought and see that in your mind. And you will be there when the parking space is open. It works. It works. It is connecting yourself fully with the river of reality. When you desire to be particularly clear-minded, there's a test or an important meeting coming up, take a moment. Invite in the clarity of the white light that illumines. Feel the sharpness of awareness so that nothing will escape you. Tell your memory to retain all that you take in. It will do so. It will do so. You have the power now. It's not obstructed by rage against others or the self, by fears of inadequacy, by old programs of self-defeat. to make the new stuff work, exercise it, practice it. Some of you have worked with crystal energy, the energy of stones. And what I've said to you and what you've learned in the past is that these crystals have energy and you can use them. And some are good for healing this, and some are good for sharpening clarity in some other respect. All of them have their own little energy and their gift to give you. All that is true. In the beginning, in the Atlantis that is called Venus now, when you were Atlanteans, you worked intimately with crystal energy. As I've said before, from deep space, Atlantis glittered like a jewel because of all the surface deposits of crystals. And much of the psychic power of the Atlanteans was magnified through their unifying that power with crystal energy. Not just using the energy inherent in the crystal, not just using their own psychic energy, but using the crystal to magnify the energy that they bring to it in marrying it to the energy that the crystal itself has. Now you can do that. Now you can use the same crystals that you've had or others that you may acquire, and you can use them to magnify your wishes. I have a headache. I want to get rid of it. It's hard to work on headaches because they're up there in the head where you're trying to fight against it. Take the crystal. Unite yourself with it. How do you do that? Quiet yourself. Become aware that you are a being of energy as well as a being of flesh and bone and blood and so forth. That there's an energy body that sparkles and glitters and pulsates. And that the crystal has an energy body in addition to the beauty of its physical manifestation. Visualize those energies combining with each other, and the energy of the crystal flowing into your energy body, and your energy flowing into the energy body of the crystal. And then touch the crystal to the head. Touch the crystal to the arthritic knee. Touch the crystal to the upset stomach. For yourself, there's also a gift you can give to others. Mind you, if you're giving it to somebody who doesn't want to be healed, it'll pass through, slough off, won't have an effect. But if you give it to somebody who does want to be healed, who wants to get rid of that headache, whatever its real nature is, and you will be able to do that for them and with them, you are going to be manifesting the fact that you are no longer Homo sapien. That the thinking human, and that was the focus, Homo sapien, the thinking human, isn't enough. Just a little pie slice of the whole. Now you're whole. Now you are a different being. Now you are the forerunner of the race that will populate the earth and the stars. This is just the first baby step. Rubbing your eyes and looking around at a brand new world and wondering how you fit into it and what you share with it. But as you move forward now in this life, more and more you will become aware of your difference from those who are not at that place in their development. Others will become more aware also of the more powerful and more loving energy that is your identity. Others will begin to come to you for advice and for help, and those who are frightened of that power will flee from you. Say, "Oh, you're too weird. I don't want to be around you." The light is too blinding for them. Open yourself to the understanding and recognition But that which is not for you will flow away from you, whether it is a human being or some other factor. Now, another thing that's very important as this development goes on is sharing with each other. Those of you who are in this same degree in the process. I've said before that when you accept that Christ energy, a link forms between you and all other human beings. Now, for those other human beings who are also awakening into wholeness, that linkage, that awareness, that bottom line, you are all one, takes on real meaning. Now, at this early point in the development of the triune being, you are little pockets of people here and there, and one a block, and one every few miles, and just the beginning. It's so important now for you to link up in any way that you can. When you find each other, nurture the relationship. You will be blessed by the conscious unification of your energy with the others who are also becoming whole. You will profit immeasurably from the confirmation and from the support you receive from others who are also finding their way in a brand new world, in a brand new awareness. Eventually, all humans will awaken and unite, and the human race will be one being. And there will be no possibility of racism and sexism and all of those other kinds of divisions among people, because of the underlying recognition that whatever surface differences may exist, they are so minor compared to the fact of oneness. As you, as individuals, awaken in this fashion, you too find yourself growing less and less judgmental, more and more understanding and empathetic, more and more recognizing the similarities and letting go of the differences. This is a new age. Now, today is as good a date as any to say, here the new age begins. Everything else has been preparation. Is this technically the dawn of the Aquarian age? Well, sure, according to some, not according to others. Doesn't matter. There's an overlap. But this is a good time to say, yes, this is it. This is the beginning. This is the new stage in the journey. And it is so important for you to share that love and understanding and sense of oneness with all who you come in contact with. Because you are the flowers that are growing on the battlefield. You are the new dawn that succeeds the darkest of nights. In the midst of the blackness and the terror of change, of destruction, of prophecy fulfilled, you are the awakening ones, unafraid, full of sorrow and sympathy and understanding for those who are frightened and who are separated from the understanding that you have. Not judgmental. You will not be frightened by what is taking place and what will take place. For one thing, you're going to be so involved with each other and with yourself and your new strength and your new power to see your dreams come true and your wishes fulfilled, that you're going to be focusing on the flowers and not on the battlefield. You recognize that light will succeed the darkness. And your work is going to be such a joy. Whatever you choose to do, it's not the work, it's what you bring to it. It is your opening awareness. Many of you are going to choose an independent way of making a living because you find it much more difficult to live in the old reality, especially as it crumbles, to stay a part of old definitions of how one works and what one does and old rules. Because as you now have the power of divine discernment, you see things as they truly are and not believe the polite fictions and the illusions that have captured humanity for all of these years. Nobody's going to be able to con you. Nobody's going to be able to convince you that something unimportant is important. Now, you're going to have to be aware that this is a revolutionary attitude and would not be admired by any government anywhere in the world, any time in history. It means that you will obey those rules that you choose to because they make sense, or some you may obey simply because it's more trouble not to. You will never again be sheep led to any slaughter. Neither will you be wolves ravaging the flock. You are moving out of capture by the animal aspect of self. And that's really what's been in charge in human beings through all of these millennia. You are blending of the divine with the animal, where you began in human form. And until now, with all of the changes of the evolution in humanity, nonetheless, there is still that territorial instinct. There's still the desire to fight. There is still the desire to trick one another. There's still the animal passions and the rage and so forth. That's not because it's meant to be that way. That was simply a stage of the evolution. Now the balance is shifting. You'll always be as much animal, i.e. of the earth, as you are angel, i.e. of the wider reality. But as you integrate the unsavory aspects of the animal self, become refined. Your understanding, your wisdom, informs all that you do, and you will not do what is not understandable and not wise. You are not going to be moving through life as though you were a saint above all that humanity encounters. You are more human than you have ever been, or that any human has ever been. Because the humanity that you have sought is the humanity in balance. Above all, I want to emphasize this. You're moving, as humans, into a very difficult time for humanity, for the earth, a time of tremendous change, a fated time, a time for many of loss, for many of pain, for most, a time of great fear, fear of the unknown, fear of unsettling change, fear of disaster. And no one on earth will be protected. No one is far enough away from everyone else to be safe in the stirring of the pot that has begun now. And because of these things, I say to you, be joyful. Be joyful. Celebrate what has gone on within you and celebrate what is taking place within humanity. Celebrate the new age. Celebrate the dawn. Play, 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 play. You will not be able to distinguish work from play as the time goes forward, because you will derive joy from all that you do, because all that you do will be in harmony with all that you are. Get used to laughing. Get used to doing things because you want to, and not because you have to. Because you want to share, not because you bear duty upon your back. You are going to be stronger and healthier and more joyful. the rain will sprinkle down from time to time on every human head. But when it sprinkles on your head, you will say, I love the rain. Because you will know that you cannot be defeated because there is nothing to defeat you. That you cannot be lost once you are found. That you cannot be betrayed once you have relinquished fear. There are going to be many opportunities. Opportunities for joy, opportunities for service, opportunities for play. As your life becomes more meaningful to you, you wear it more lightly. And do not be afraid to turn to one another, to share the sorrow and the laughter. You will illumine each other, for there are no barriers of ego and competition and envy and jealousy and fear to separate you. It is time for Reveille, to awaken, to take action, to trust action, to do whatever seems like a good idea, to find that every step you take leads you to a goal that you desire. Maybe not the expected one, and gradually you learn to let go of expectation as you become one with your spirit and your spirit self, knowing what you should do and where you should do it and what's going to be good for you. And the partnership becomes a one-ship. Let your imaginations run wild. Let your courage know no bounds. Whatever you want to do, do it. Do it. Start at it. Start anything that comes along and looks like fun. And anything in your life that is oppressing you, limiting you, denying you, using you, eliminate it. Eliminate it, because you won't be able to put up with it. If it's some so-called friend who wants your use for their purposes, let go of them if they won't change. Walk away. You cannot be unequally yoked together, whether it's in work or in play, whether it's in love. Learn to let go of that which does not bring you joy. For many, that's the hardest thing of all, because there will be long-standing burdens in their lives. People who have played upon their guilt. People for whom they have felt a sense of great duty and responsibility. But people who will not change. People who will not open. People who complain and complain and complain about the same things. Walk away. With a blessing. But you don't have the space in your life for anchors. You are creating a new world inside of yourself and among yourselves. That's your work. Cooperate with the rest of the world to the needful degree. But remember that you are the captain of your ship. You are the master of your fate. Exercise your new strength, knowing that you will not abuse it. However many times in the past you have abused it. Exercise your strength, knowing you will not be betrayed and find yourself weak, because the illusion of weakness is no longer a part of your being. Celebrate a new world, a new energy, a new life. Now, any questions of any matters?
I have a recurring struggle that I deal with my body, but the week before I get my period, I just really don't feel good and have all the symptoms of PMS. And the last couple of months I've gotten sick. Now I'm kind of going through that now, and I'm just wondering if you could tell me something that might be helpful.
Well, I would again suggest the use of the crystal energy, and using it. You don't need it. You can do it without it, but it will amplify energy. And placing it in the appropriate places and feeling good, feeling the feeling of feeling good, letting go of the pain and the constriction. Visualizing the opening of blood vessels and capillaries, feeling the wind of wellness blow through you, blowing away all of the grains of darkness. Heal yourself. You can do it. Just don't stick to the old program. Say, I've had this so long and blah, 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 blah. Will it be healed perfectly first time out? That'd be a big surprise if it was. But you can begin right away feeling a mitigation and a lessening of the symptoms, but also by not focusing upon them, saying, oh, no, here it comes. Oh, dear, I feel terrible now. I know I'm going to feel terrible now for a week, and so forth and so on, saying, yes, this is the way it always has been, and so we'll keep it exactly as it has been. Acknowledge it. Work on it, release it, and ignore it. The body is also coming into harmony with the spirit that now fills the physical form. The body now has greater abilities than ever to heal itself. I've said before, it's always been intended that human beings would be self-maintaining. That when you reach your fullness as human beings, you won't need such things as doctors and dentists and chiropractors and such like, and you'll have massage because it feels good and not because you need it. You have the ability to bring yourself into that kind of perfect body-mind-spirit harmony. Not today, but you have the ability now to start. Just wipe it away. And keep wiping it away until it doesn't come back.
I have a question. But I think there's more that I want to ask than I can say. It's a situation that sounds similar to what you're describing of doing something I want to do, but yet I think being partly caught in the old. That in mind, my question is, I've recently befriended a man at work by the name of Warren, and I'm wondering what you can tell me about him and my relationship with him.
He is out of your past pattern. He's not a part of your past pattern. There's a sense that the image is like this, hand in hand. He is no more perfectly balanced than you are, but he is not the old pattern of the one who will take from you and not give, the one who will control and not partner. So I would say there's potential in this relationship. You're going to find, as you send out new signals to the world in general, that there's going to be a good deal of response to those new signals. And so not every response is one that you're going to complete. But I would say there is no karma between you, you see. There's no past that needs to be balanced out. Yes, well, don't make assumptions as to the... All right, I'm glad you brought this up, because I've spoken for so many years about the various faces of fear, that there are, that rage is fear, and that jealousy is fear, and that all of these come from that seed of the illusion fear. There are also many faces of love. All of you are now at a point when you are beginning to be filled up with love energy. Christ energy is love energy. And as your fears are departing and the memory of them fades, you're going to be so full of love that you're going to want to share it everywhere, and anyone who's full of love is going to be attracting love. Now, there are many, many forms of love. And at first, you will tend to confuse what's what. That you may be attracting someone, and the form the love is taking is not what you think. You're overflowing with love. And the love of God is different from the sexual love, is different from the brotherly, sisterly love, is different from the friendship love, and so forth and so on. Don't make assumptions in the beginning as to what form a particular attraction, which is love calling to love, takes. That if, and for you, I would say, if this is to develop in a male-female love kind of way, then circumstances will be appropriately changing for that to become a possibility. You will be unable, with any comfort whatsoever, to do anything that betrays your perfect love. That is to say, you cannot satisfy your love by cheating anyone else. So you will not be in situations that would create that desire to cheat, to take what is not rightfully yours. You will be in a situation here. You've had a difficulty in the past, not simply in love, sexual relationships with men, but in friendships with men that are not or do not become contaminated by inequality, by hidden agendas. With this individual, because there is the connection, because he's not the old pattern, there's a possibility of a new kind of relationship. However it's expressed, whether it's expressed as friendship pure and simple, or whether it changes and evolves into a love sexual relationship. Do not be afraid to feel your feelings and to share your feelings, for fear you will be rejected or for fear that it will be inappropriate. Again, you must trust yourself in all sorts of radical ways, and that is trusting your reactions too.
One more question
Yes.
in relation to that. Another woman at work, Valerie, said, really like women, I can tell by the way. The fact that we're friends and this man.
That which is uncomfortable for you, you must change without hesitation and without second thoughts. If for you the idea of this friendship connection being a secret makes you uncomfortable, say so. And don't put up with anything less than that which brings you harmony, peace, and joy. Nothing is worth it. And you won't be able to. It'll just get worse until it drives you nuts. So you'll learn eventually to make those changes and make those statements of clarity right away. People will take you and love you and accept you for who you are, not for any mask that you wear, not for any compromises that you make. Well, he has a strong sexuality. Nothing wrong with him. Maybe their problem, if they are uncomfortable with their own sexualities. I see no, this is a normal, quote-unquote, normal human being, with issues, as everyone has, but there's nothing horrible here.
Plautus, it seems like since the war started a couple weeks ago, with the classroom that I've been in, or classroom I've been in, the kids I've been working with for the last several months, and just in general in my life, people have been working on conflict and working on how conflict gets resolved and all that sort of stuff. And this week it's like it's changed and shifted to a different direction. And the kids we're working on details sort of in terms of the conflict resolution, and it's sort of in a sense easier, in a sense harder, and working on smaller things. And I was just wondering if you could comment on the way the classroom is working now. And,
things are going to be running more smoothly there as elsewhere in the immediate future. The infection of fear spreads rapidly, and few are immunized against it. What is taking place as a result of the war now, better get used to it, because there are going to be many more fear triggers accelerating and increasing as the time moves forward. The children who have chosen to be born and to be in their formative years during this time are children of the new age. They are children who are here not to be frightened and not to be defeated and so forth, but to be healed and to become whole. One of the benefits of your own transformation is so much of human communication is energy communication. A minority of it comes through the vocal cords in the mouth, and a smaller minority through body language and so forth. Much of the connection is pure energy touching other energies. With your transformational process going on, the energy that you emit, the signals that you send out, are increasingly peaceful, harmonious, welcoming, non-threatening. Now, in your work, children are much more, they're a little halting with the language, and there's a lot they haven't learned. But to compensate, their energy communication is very strong and very acute. And they will respond instinctively to your energy, as they always have, but more so now because of the increasing clarity and purity of that transformed energy. So therefore, your individual work, your work as an individual with these and other children, is going to be immeasurably enhanced by their unspoken recognition of your kinship and of your love. Speaking overall, I would say a step has been taken. A new level has been reached in this school setting. And not at all negative, but a necessary movement forward in understanding on the part of the children. And don't worry about the details. They're going to take care of themselves. Be aware on that extra sensory level of each child and of the collective unit of children, any that you work with. In being able to trust your own intuition so perfectly, your work as an individual with the children as individuals or as a group is going to be, again, very much enhanced. Trust yourself, move forward. The process is being enacted.
Germaine.
Say the name.
Germaine.
Frustrated. So he's been sat on. Trust has been injured. Yeah, oh yes. There's in fact, there's a bonding that's already taken place in the third chakra, to his third chakra, power, security. A strong beginning has been made. You're going to make a positive difference with every child that you deal with, because you're not in the negative lesson learning business now. You're in the healing mode.
Even if I yell a couple times.
Oh, of course, you're a human being, and sometimes the yelling is as necessary as anything else. So trust yourself in that too. Yes.
I have a question about my next venture, potential actually. I've been working on this second business for quite some time now, like a couple of years. And lately, like 3-4 months, nothing is moving. I don't know if it's still a go or it's a dead issue there.
No, I see a flame flickering. It may have been turned low for a while, but the flame is not out. And again, what I've been saying about forward movement applies here too. And you'll start to discern that forward movement in 2 or 3 weeks.
To initiate the process, I've been trying, frankly, but very little response.
No, as I've said, and it applies to this too, you're ready. Mm-hmm. All that has to happen is that you meet the timing when it's ready. And see, the opportunity will come to you. You've opened the door, you've taken the action, and now you await the timing for the next step. And as I say, that's probably, there's going to be a big step forward, and it has something to do with legalities, and that's. I'll tell you one thing. I see something flash. I see April flashing on and off, on and off. It doesn't mean that nothing's going to happen until April, but in April is going to be a coalescing of reality there. So that it is by no means dead.
Okay. So I need to just wait, pretty much.
Yes, it's not passive. It's just being aware that when the timing comes, it'll knock at the door.
Okay.
Paul, I'm real frustrated with work right now, and yet I still feel as though it's not a place that I'm ready to leave, but I need a change really badly. Do you see a job change within the structure that I'm in for me, or do you see me leaving, or do you see me just biding my time yet?
Biding your time is close enough to be impossible to call impossible. You don't want to make yourself sick. Action needs to be taken, probably in March. All right, now here's something I have to interpret. Looking at you in connection with the work, I see you separating from it, but not completely. It is as though, let us say, a new division opened up, or a new direction opened up. As different as if you'd gone somewhere else and gotten a new job. Or it is even a different, conceivably, a different business, but with a tie to the one that you're in now. So it's a change, it's a major change, it's not a wholesale change. It's not you quit the job and look for something different, get something entirely different. There's more of a natural flow to it. And again, March, until that time, I'd say just be prepared and aware and ready and willing.
Okay, thanks.
You're not going to be stuck where you are. In 6 months, you will be embarked on quite a different track.
I keep feeling very drawn to South America, Mexico, and I have been drawn to South America for years, and Mexico for years. But again, when I was on this trip into the Virgin Island area, I just felt such a tug towards South America, and I keep feeling like there's going to be a time in my life when I really get to go somewhere else like that and work with people. And
is that what you would like to do?
Yes.
Then do it. And it's almost as simple as that. What it is saying, I would like to do this, universe. And if this higher self works out well with my purpose here on earth, then let's get together and open up something that is in harmony with that. Trust your feeling. I'm drawn to this area, to these people. All right, fine. What's the next step? Sending out the signals to the universe that I want it. Not simply, if you, God, fate, whatever, wants me to do this, I'll follow along. But I want this. And if there's a good reason that it's not appropriate for me, then let me see it. But until that time comes, this is what I want. Invest your energy and the power of your psychic spiritual being in materializing that desire. Trust your desires and act on them.
I have another question. Does anyone else?
Anything at the moment? Okay.
My question is, I guess I kind of want to update. I asked you a few months ago about this man named Craig that I met, and it feels like he's just kind of a stimulus for some unfinished relationship issues for me, and I keep going through all different feelings. Sometimes I feel real attracted to him, and other times it feels like there's nothing we have in common. And
yes, his presence and your response to him is a illustration of the place you've been in, which is neither here nor there, which has been transition time. which has been a time where the past still tugs and the future is still unseen, and so you've been pulled in two different directions. And he is one who fills that particular bill. Now, does that mean he's going to disappear now that you make some choices and forward movement starts taking place and the past recedes into darkness? No, I don't think so. I think rather that there'll be a clearer definition of the relationship, and that is to say, those aspects of him that appealed, quote unquote, to the old self will become clear, consciously clear and definable to you. And in your enhanced awareness, as the energy nature of the relationship becomes clearer to you, then you're going to make some decisions. I'm not going to try to bend you in either direction because you'll be very capable of making these decisions. There's nothing negative indicated by the fact that part of the attraction has to do with past things. You know, it's not as though you've been frogs all your life and now you're becoming mountain lions. You know, there's a transformation, but there's also a continuation. And so, for example, the kind of individual that you may have been attracted to in the past, you're likely still to be attracted in general to that same type of individual, except you're going to be drawing one to you that has the positive aspects of that attraction and not the negative. That's the choice you're going to have to make, because that's going to become clearer to you what's positive and what's negative in the case of that connection between the two of you. And that's pretty soon. I guess I don't want to put a timing on it, but soon. And no, I don't want to say more about it. You'll have another question later. Another few weeks, yes.
Thanks a lot.
Yes.
Paul, Lynette had a question. She asked me to ask you about a feeling that she gets frequently, say like once a month or so, that she can remember her whole life for as long as she can remember. So she figures it probably comes from something else. But it's a sense of a sudden panic that washes over her, and she can liken it to as though there were a 3-year-old in a department store that got separated from its mother.
Mm-hmm.
And
very good,
at
yes.
those times she has to like surround herself with people. And it passes, and she knows it'll pass, and she has no knowledge of why she gets it.
That's fine. I say to her, let it happen. Don't try to fight it off. Don't try to think this is some sign of some deep problem. Technically it'd be called an anxiety attack, but it's going to lessen and finally disappear, lessen its impact if she gives it less energy. It's nothing to worry about. It's not uncommon. It is cyclical, so I could see that she would say every month or so, probably closer to 6 weeks. But it is related to past life matters. It is related to loss, to the sense of abandonment. And it is fading. But that shouldn't say to her, well, it's fading, I have to make it fade. Accept it. The secret to becoming whole is not taking the darkness and cutting it off and throwing it away. It's embracing it and loving the shadow as much as the light.
Okay, along those same lines, she also says sometimes, like when she looks in a mirror, she gets a sense of out-of-body experience. Is that same kind of thing, or?
Well, no, it's not quite the same thing. Out-of-body experience, I don't know that...
a sense of...
disassociation.
Yeah, disassociation, exactly.
Yeah. That really has to do, and I want to say this to all of you, and not that you're all going to have that sensation, but as you grow more fully into yourselves, the memory barrier that has kept you separate from other lives that you have lived also starts to shimmer and fade. It doesn't mean you're going to have crystal clear memory of every life that you ever lived, but it's going to mean that you are more understanding, more accepting of the fact that here in this life, which is the culmination of so many lives, your consciousness of past life experiences is much clearer than it's ever been in any other life. And with the access of spirit to your being, it's going to become clearer yet. It may be, you could be looking through a book of old photographs and say, wait a minute, that's me. Someone that's not related to you at all, as far as you know. Or that you come to a particular place and say, oh, I remember this, and you've never been there before in this life. Without attempting to define each one, codify it, accept that this is the fact, that the veil is thinning as your God identification grows greater, as your spirit, and remember, the spiritual self that you are uniting with is you, your higher self, that aspect of yourself that is eternal, that is aware of every life you've ever lived and why. So there's going to be a greater connection with that. In her case, I think that's may be what that if you glance into a mirror, if she glances into a mirror, not if you walk up and you're brushing your teeth and you stare at yourself in the mirror, but if you happen to catch sight of yourself in the mirror, there may be that moment that is at once a lack of recognition of that person that you're seeing, and also a recognition of being someone else. So a momentary lack of agreement between what you feel and what you see. Again, it's not a big deal. It just has to do with her own growing into a multifaceted, complete self.
Related to the question I had before, I'm working on this project with a developer. Oh, this person is acting as a developer. His name is Russ. Excuse me. And I have good feelings about this guy, but lately it's been a little bit funny. So should I be trustworthy? Is he trustworthy, this person? Should I trust him? I'm having second doubts about that.
He says he's perfectly trustworthy, but that he is a businessman, and he's always looking for the best way to do things, and that he likes you, and that he thinks you can do business together. I would say to you, as I've said again and again, trust your intuition, but give it some time now, because things are shifting now. Your next encounter with him, go into it really not suspicious at all, but with your awareness at its most clear. And see if his energy doesn't feel different to you. I think the next time that you meet on a matter of substance, there'll be some forward action there. I don't see him as being untrustworthy, and he says he's not. So
I've been looking at apartments because I plan to, and I have strange emotions. I mean, I look at the place and it's great, and maybe it has everything that I want, and then I look at the price and I say, oh, but I can't, even if I could afford it, I shouldn't spend this much money on a place to live. I'm afraid it's a hangover from the depression days and all that, but how can I mean...
Yes, and you don't want to put... Now, one might assume that what Plautus would say here is, well, forget that hangover and find whatever you like, no matter what it's cost, and because you deserve the best, and so forth and so on. Well, that's as true as far as it goes. But you are also yourself, and you need to please you, that unique being. And by pleasing, and in order to please you, you need to stretch a bit, but not too far. You don't want to make yourself uncomfortable and feel excessively vulnerable on a financial level. I think that you're going to very shortly find a place that may be a little bit of a stretch financially, but feels like home. And there, I would say, when you have that feeling, you say, "Well, I can. This isn't going to make me nervous, though. It's not going to be such a big leap that I feel like I'm walking a tight wire with no net, because that's not going to make you feel warm and comfortable and at home, which your true home must do." So there's a place that my first glance at the inside is it's dark, but it's not dark. There's dark woodwork, beautiful woodwork, and a sense of a cave, in the best sense of security, of protection. This coming month, I think you'll find this.
It doesn't have anything to do with my feeling that so many people in the world are so needy at this point that I shouldn't be wasting the extra money on myself.
Oh, no.
Right.
No, and I would encourage you to let that go, and not encouraging selfishness at all, but that can become a very oppressive sense of duty. The first thing on your menu is to prove to yourself and accept the fact that you are worthy, and that you have earned and deserve that which you desire. And generally, the human way is, my desires far outstrip my worth. And so the desires themselves become unworthy. And we say, well, let's just let go of desire, and I'll just make do with whatever God sees fit to drop on me. And that's not the way at all. That's not the way at all. You're in a partnership with God and with the universe. And the universe is the source of wealth and of plenty, not a particular individual or anything. So touch upon the universe and ask for that sharing. You in your own way will work in your heart and in your being for the help of those who are in want. But it is not for you to supply them or to deny yourself because of the existence of those without homes.
Quick question. With my trip to Florida with the kids, I want to go, and then part of me says I don't really deserve it. And then I'm also spending an awful lot of money. I decided to go first class all the way and go to the most fanciest hotels and spend lots of money, and I have no problem with it at all. And at the same time, it's like, oh, but I should be more practical and invest to buy a house.
Again, drop shoulds, drop oughts. This isn't the time to buy a house, but it's a wonderful time to have a vacation. And as I said, don't think poor. You're partnering with the universe in an expansive way. And you will receive much more than you think you deserve, but just about the same amount that you really do deserve.
I talked to you about my friend Randy, the musician that just recorded his demo tape, and I know he keeps saying he wants to come here and he can't, but I just wondered if you had any message for him about it. I'm real excited about it personally.
I'm seeing the color red very intensely when you mentioned the tape. Must be hot.
I think it's really hot.
It looks like a good venture.
It's just touching up a lot of fears for him too. It's like this is what he always wanted to do. And he's
yes, of course. It's placing him in a dangerous position. What if it doesn't happen after I've invested all of this energy into it? And that's the challenge. But you just go ahead and do what he must go ahead and do what he needs to do, and acknowledge that he does feel very vulnerable doing that. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I've been working towards this school for ages and feeling like the last month or so I put it way back on the back burner and just to kind of almost gotten to the point where it feels like it's too much work. And I sort of have the sense that that'll change. Sort of thinking again about doing some writing for a while.
Did you have a partner in this in the perspective school?
No.
Well, there's going to be one, and I think that's going to considerably ease your mind about taking it all upon yourself. A female partner is going to be involved with that, and I don't see it happening immediately. I think what you're going to be working on now is, as I was indicating earlier, a recognition of the enhancement of your skills and your interaction with the children, and that what becomes a school may begin as a single class. The sense, and it's not necessarily literal, but the sense that the oak grows from the acorn, and you have to have the acorn first, and that the school, as it exists in your mind and your imagination, will develop, and not begin at that point, and that's not far away. That step, that's spring, where things begin to say, "Oh, well, this is real." It may not be the day you open the door. But it's when you accept and recognize that this is not a pipe dream.
Am I likely to keep on working in this job? I guess I'm sort of feeling up and down about whether I want to be there or whether I want to just take some time off for myself and do some going up and down.
Well, you're not going to keep going up and down. You're going to make a choice. But you are asking me on the very first day that you could begin to even discern a choice. And so I'd say, let's not even answer that now. That the answer is going to come from you and in the very near future. But let's give the percolation time.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
About the partner, whether is this going to be somebody that I really feel comfortable with?
You will. You will, by the time a partnership evolves, is created from this.
That's not somebody I know already.
Well, she's rather a brisk woman, moving in a straight line forward, businesslike, not cold, but like a Virgo, very handling all the details and having that in her mind. Be a good combination. She's her heart is good, but she does operate primarily from the mind, and you operate primarily from the heart, and it sounds like a good balance.
Paul, do you see my mom's house selling quickly and easily and being a fairly smooth transition for her?
Yeah, just put in the order. I'm very serious. I'm very serious in that. There's no room for passivity in this process. You need to recognize that you're a factor, that you have impact, and that you have power, and that you're in a partnership with the universe, and that you trust that you are operating according to your true needs and in the timing that is universal. And so you'll put in your order, and you visualize the house being sold, and trust that it will be sold in exactly the right time. And so you will enact that in your life and not simply hope that it happens or ask that it happens, but put in your order saying, this has happened.
I'm going to the Grand Canyon this spring.
Excellent. And a deep triggering of past life, Native American connection, go into the deepest part. Breathe in the atmosphere, the feeling, reuniting. It's reuniting with the earth. It's providing balance and rootedness and a nearly conscious connection with a Native American past life. Do you have a date set?
The end of March.
Good. That should be
Thanks.
Yes, that should be very good. So, we're going to draw this reading to a close now. And thank you all for your attention. Bid you Godspeed as you move forward in your journey of self-discovery.